Okay, what's up? We're going to get back into the Madden series here, working on 2x2 stacks versus quarters coverage. Just a quick reminder, when I talk about this stuff, you have to understand that I'm using an NFL approach to how things are played in the NFL. I had the privilege of working in the NFL, coaching defensive backs for a good number of years. So all the stuff that I talk about is coming from that point of view. Now, when I play Madden, I understand from playing Madden for almost 30 years that things don't always necessarily match up the same way when you play John Madden football. So I understand all that, and so when I go through this stuff, I'm teaching you how quarters works, which can benefit you maybe even outside of playing Madden, and some of the adjustments that goes with quarters. Now, this is where quarters becomes a monster, because playing quarters coverage and match coverage is not just about having one set of rules versus everything. It's really an adjustable defense that has to take account for what the offense might be doing to you. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is this. Basically, when you play quarters coverage, you have to understand that there are lots of adjustments. When I used to have my DBs, I used to have to spend a tremendous amount of time talking about what happens when you get this formation, what happens when you get this formation. So that's the reason why I break my videos down into segments, okay? So don't forget, by the way, to put your defense on match coverage. I already did that. When you want to play any type of match coverage, you call quarters, you have to have the defensive adjustments in match, okay? Just a quick reminder. So this formation right here is a 2x2, which means there's two receivers on either side, and it's a stack formation, okay? I chose the most pure type of stack formation you can have, which means that number one and number two are within 5 yards of each other. So Jefferson and Efelson are both within 5 yards. Same thing on the other side. Running back in the backfield at the home position. He's in the backfield. Don't worry about that. But this is what we have on either side. We have stacks. So the DBs are going to make an adjustment towards stacks. Okay, it's the first adjustment you really learn. It's called zoning. Okay, which really means you play the first guy in your zone that goes beyond 10 yards. The first vertical in your zone. Okay, so let me just run through this play. All right, and just see if they actually play it correctly and get the rules right. Now, is the technique right? We'll spend some time on that, and that's what these videos are really about. Are these coverages viable versus certain formations? So right now on the left side of the screen, all right, this corner right here is going to play the first vertical to the outside. This corner right here should play the first vertical to the inside. So what that means is basically if two guys were to come off the line of scrimmage, if both these guys were to come off the line of scrimmage at the same time, okay, and 18, Jefferson, stays on the outside part closer to, pretty sure that is Ramsey, then Ramsey will take him, okay? And the tight end goes straight down the field, that means that the safety would take him. And if for some reason they were to switch down the field, both the safety and the corner would switch as well. They would switch assignments and just play the guy in their zone as they switch down the field. Now, there are adjustments in the NFL. Sometimes it's too complicated. You're not sure if they're going to switch too late. So you will just lock your guy, and it means lock means I got number one, I got number two, play it like man to man, okay? But really, the advantage of quarters, and I'm going to spend the whole time maybe going back after this is all over talking about technique, giving you the philosophy of quarters like I did last year. Really, this is really good versus anytime you get one guy going vertical. Because most of the time in stacks, you get one guy going vertical and you get one guy running something short. So if one guy goes vertical, now the corner and the safety are both playing him, right? They're both looking at him. If this 18 was to work outside and work out to the corner, the corner would get him. If he was to work the post route, the safety would get him. So that's kind of the mentality of the double team there, okay? If both guys are unsure and he just runs straight up the field, then both guys would basically double team him within the zone, all right? So that's kind of how it works. It really takes into effect when you look at the backside over here, okay? So here's a perfect example of zoning, right? That corner on the right side of the screen does not have 19, doesn't have Adam Thielen, because what? He's working inside and vertical. So now the safety is playing his first inside vertical, and he will take him and grab him, and that's a really good job. This is the advantage of, again, playing quarters coverage, maybe versus a team that's going to run the ball, so you get yourself a nice little kind of 8-9 man box really, with 2 safeties in the box, can come down and play their run fits pretty firmly as long as they're good players. But also versus a play action where they try to get a nice little 2-man concept, they try to run a deep play, you should be able to take away this stuff with a good corner and safety combination, okay? So this is like one of the advantages of playing the coverage, and this is actually played pretty well. So what I'm trying to do now is trying to talk through some of this stuff and look at it really, because I've played a couple games, but not a whole lot. It's still early in the cycle, right? I'll add more videos as we go along if I see problems. But I want to know what coverages, what adjustments can quarters play to 2x2 stack, okay? And we're not talking about palms, we're not talking about cover 6 and all those things, but just understand this, and I'll put this in as a little bonus tip. If you play palms versus 2x2 compression set like this, 2x2 double stacks, both sides will just convert back to quarters rules, and they will play zone it adjustment to this defense, okay? So I just want to look at that. I think we're pretty good here. Now, I just noticed something. The one thing here, I'm in a base defense because the offense is in 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, 1 running back. And the quarter flat defender, again, a lot of this stuff does actually, from last year, if I remember how good that player is, does matter. All right, so I'm pretty sure that this linebacker is not a great player. I think it's Hollins. He got caught because he is a quarter flat defender. His responsibility is to take first to the flat out of 1 or 2, which is right in front of him, okay? And or if the running back comes to the flat, he's just sitting there and he should be there basically playing him late. So basically he's thinking, I have the first to the flat from the 1 or 2 receiver and or the running back because of his formation. Even if he wasn't looking at the running back, when 1 and 2 doesn't go to the flat, he should become a curl player, eyes on the quarterback. He doesn't have to get a deep drop, but he should take that guy, all right? Now on the opposite side, it should be the same thing. I don't think anybody threatened this linebacker, so he's just running and being the quarterback. And then we already established from the first video that the middle linebacker here, it seems like his rules were just 3 receiver hook. You know, some teams would have him match the running back because that's number 3, right? He would at least start to match him, all right? And then realize that the tight end is in, right? Maybe he gets a call from the outside linebacker and he doesn't have to necessarily run with him to the flat. But you can't be wrong if that linebacker was to match the running back, his number 3 to the flat. But in Madden world, when he goes out to the flat from behind the line of scrimmage like this, the middle linebacker does not recognize him as an actual threat and will just zone off in the middle of the field. All right, so I do have some more examples here. Just bear with me here, but that was the first one. I went a little slow on purpose because I wanted to make sure that it was covered correctly. Let me take this one. Let me take a look at this. I don't really have a whole lot of. Again, I can run this from 3-4 as long as it's quarters within the defense. I don't have to be in a 4-down defense. That's the one thing you got to check, is to make sure which defenses have quarters, and that's the reason why I'm starting there, because I think a majority of them do. I think it's almost like 90% of all the defenses have at least cover 4 quarters this year, unlike palms and cover 9 and cover 6. Those are only in certain defensive packages like big nickel or in dime 2-3. So just realize that, all right? Anyway, here goes another play here. This one should be taken care of pretty well by all the DBs. Again, quarters in this situation is really good when they have 2 receivers going deep and you got 4 DBs who can play basically match principal zone against all the type of routes that might hit them with the 2 receivers. So here we go again. We got an out route by number 1. Ramsey's there. Now I chose Ramsey on purpose because again, man ratings make a difference when it comes to playing match coverage. All right. Somebody on my on my quarters video, the first one, made a great point. Some teams aren't built for match, and really, if your team doesn't have good man defenders, match is not good. I played a league game yesterday and got my ass whooped because I didn't have man defenders, and I was trying to just get some match on film just to see if I can get the rules right. But I realized that, hey, my guys aren't really good at man coverage, so they're going to mess up. They're not going to be as close as they would if they weren't. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent here. We got number 1 running an out route. That's the first outside vertical. Ramsey's there. Now, the safety, he's going to kind of squeeze with that. Not sure if he's going to maybe do a double move. That's something that teams can do to you is run a double move. So you always tell that safety to make sure, just kind of like read through 1, 2, 3 steps going out, then come back in. But I'd rather have the eyes on the quarterback. It's a little bit better. Over here goes a perfect example of first, what? Inside vertical, right? So these safeties and corners are sitting there reading. What is he going to do? What is he going to do? If he ran a corner, the corner would have him. If he runs a dig, he would have him. Now, one thing I'll say is this. The safety play this year is so much better than last year in Madden. Actually, all the DBs, you know, they don't get out with a whole lot of speed, and that's the adjustment that they made, where they have better field sense awareness, I guess, of, you know, when they don't have any work, of looking to help out somewhere else. So I think that might be a really good reason why zone, you know, playing match coverage is good. All right, I don't like, well, again, this happens in real life too. That safety, he starts to open up, right? Kind of in that open position, just in case he was to go vertical, he needs to stay with him. So you're really gonna need some guys probably with some really good agility and change of direction back here at the safety spot to be able to play this and then come back in and make that really hard transition to come back inside. But in general, I think with the pass rush being pretty good, I feel like match coverage should be really nice because, you know, that's a lot to look at from an offensive point of view. You don't really know if your guy's open or not, all right? So I'm still in this same coverage. I'm going to now what used to be a beater last year, all right? A flood combination. 1 goes vertical, 2 goes on a corner, all right? And this is something that I gotta take a look at because I know personally, I got beat on a play recently in a game where nobody covered the corner. And I'm looking at this replay right now, and I don't know if it was maybe the alignment. The receivers were in a stack, but they weren't. They were a little bit wider. There were 2 receivers together. So I'll take a look at that later. But this right here is an example of what I would call a lock. So when you go into an NFL game week, right, the responsibility of all DB coaches first and foremost is to find out what type of routes are the offense running. Is the offense you're about to face running out of stacks and bunches, right? Because most teams don't really change it up too much unless they're really advanced. They don't really change it up too much, but the good offenses do. But anyway, you have to defend what you see. So if I know a team's going to run a flood concept like this, this is really hard to quote-unquote switch down the field. So if you had the generic rules of zone it, the corner should come off and play the corner route, and the safety should go and stay with the new number inside, the new number 2, the inside vertical. However, just like the levels of this play, sometimes it's hard because now if the safety was to try to come off and play number 1, he'd be way behind, right? He would have to essentially get more depth and really backpedal out of there to be safe, and then somebody's probably going to be open. This is an example of a lock, okay? This is a lock where both safeties and corners are basically playing their guy. Once they get past 10, if they haven't switched yet, stay on your guy. That's what they would say lock. If you ever watch games, and I'll give this information because I think it's good to know, and you see DBs giving like a lock symbol to each other, they're pointing to each other. If they ever point to each other, me and you, that probably means that, hey, we're going to stay in our zone, we're going to play zone it. So if he goes out, you got him. If he comes in, I got him. If you ever see them doing anything else, like they're pretending like they're turning a key, that means lock. That means I got him. They put an L sign up in the air. That means lock. That means I'm going to take my guy. If he goes after 10 yards, I got him. Okay? So this is an example of a lock. And I want to take a look at this some more because I have a feeling, and I want to take a look. There's one route that's going to confirm. I'll hold my thought here, okay? But there was nothing else in that play. I think on the backside, we had, both guys really ran short routes. So we got both DBs kind of free. But again, this DB does a good job. I think in the past, this DB wouldn't even be close to that route, that angle route, really, or some people would call it a short post or, Zampese route. But that's pretty much, that's for another conversation, really. Now, let's kind of jump into, I have the formations here that I want. Let's see what happens with 2 receivers. Do I have an example of another flood? I do. I want to see here, I'm going to come out in nickel, right? And I want to just make sure that they will lock flood routes because I played a game yesterday, like I told you, and I did not get a lock on the flood. The corner was wide open. And again, it could have been my safety because I was playing with a trash safety on that side of the field. And I think the safeties for the Rams are a little bit better. But they locked it on that one. Let's see if they do it again. They're locking it again. All right. So that right there tells me something. All right. Tells me that these DBs are locking the zone it on the backside or out of stacks. And I'm wondering if that's how they're going to play it in all routes. I'm going to take a look to prove that in a second. But this is good coverage. This is a lot better job. Everybody on this side is doing a great job. Wide receiver has 1. Corner has 2. And a zone it lock. This nickel, I'm pretty sure, has no work. Right? So he is going to play his zone. That's Ramsey. He's going to play curl flat and react to anything coming down. All right, let's take a look at a different play. I have one here where it's kind of like a same idea where you have a flood route, but it's a little bit more of a one is running a corner and 2 is running a seam. It's not really a flood, it's just an individual route, but they should lock this again. And they do. They do a good job. So I'm happy with that. The nickel wasn't Ramsey. I'm sorry. I have Ramsey at corner. So that's one of them to see how he played it. Now, just to prove that maybe the corner and his awareness makes a difference here, I'm going to run those same 2 plays on the other side against David Long Jr. and see if he actually does a good job at the corner spot. So we're going to go back to the flood concept that I had here. Oh, I didn't flip it. Hold up. Give me a second here. Bear with me. I'm going to go back to quarters, zone it, flip the other way versus David Long at the corner spot. And I'm not sure who the safety is, but I think they're pretty much the same. I think it's Fuller. Yeah, they're playing that well. They're playing it the same way. As you see it, I don't have to go through the replay. It's another lock on that. I'll do it one more time. Corner, safety, they lock their guys. So that shows me that really it's not necessarily that Ramsey was doing a better job because he's a better corner. It just showed me that basically maybe it's just programmed correctly. And this is a really positive thing, man. I hope they really do keep quarters coverage in from now until forever, because if they can get this right and get the programming right, you're in good shape. And quarters is going to give you a lot of good plays and really a lot of good matches right there. So what I'm going to do here is just give a couple of formations that should take care of routes that we haven't covered yet. And after that, if I see any issues, I'm going to have to come back and make another video. I don't want to make this video too long. Right now, I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing. I'm going to go with bench switch. All right, so anytime you get this type of combination, this smash type of combination called bench, corners just, you should get a double team on both. You should get a double team on both of the corner routes by the safety and by the corner. All right, why? Because there's only one vertical, right? So number 2 runs his 5-yard out, covered by the quarter flat. He has first to the flat. I didn't really go through the quarter flat responsibilities, but he has first to the flat. I did go over it a little bit, but it's either going to be number 1 or number 2. Whoever goes to the flat or anybody comes out late, he got him. I did go over that. But with the outside guys, now that there's only one vertical, like I said, they're going to double team this guy essentially for the first couple steps. Ramsey gets kind of like loses his leverage there. Safety ends up staying on him and staying with him. Not bad. You know, when I was coaching the position, sometimes we would just say, I'm going to flip this real quick. They would just say, basically, if the corner has him and he got him, the safety doesn't have to stay with him. You know, he can kind of work off, like basically for the first 3 steps, work with them and then wheel back and look at the quarterback. But really, it's good coverage. And I mean, the corner is losing leverage a little bit, and that could be a problem. I'm not sure if that's maybe a technique issue. Maybe backing the corner off might help. Take a look at that, but that's pretty good. Now let me go through bench, which is the same play, but just now number 1's running the flat. It shouldn't matter to the corners. And then Ramsey got caught right there. Did you see that? Now, I don't know. Sometimes things happen by accident, especially since Ramsey's blinking right now. But again, this is no different. We're not reading this 1 to 2, 2 to 1. It's first to the flat is taken by the quarter flat defender. and this corner is reading the first vertical. That's his responsibility, not this. So I'm not sure what Ramsey is doing over here. On the backside, we kind of have it's not necessarily a stack, just so you know, because there's a running back over here. I'll go into that more in the next video. That's really a bunch combination. But, I mean, you see how that corner did not jump that bunch route, that out route? So that's the way Ramsey should play. Let's see what happens. Let's do it again. Uh-oh. So, a little bit of an issue. Not a deal breaker. A little bit of an issue. Let me just try it again. Yeah, there's an issue here. So when one runs an out route, it's grabbing the corner. And I think this... I don't know if this is what happened in my game yesterday. I'm not going to worry about that. But the corner should not chase this. Okay? And when I get to red zone coverages, I'll talk more about this, because in the red zone, you actually do want your corner to adjust as a technique, but this is not the red zone. But however, the safety is staying with number 2. He's just playing it from inside out and might lose leverage. He's staying with that vertical, but it's just interesting on this side, they have it played perfectly. But the difference is this is not a 2x2 stack. This is actually a 3x. This is actually a bunch. And I'll talk more about this again later if I don't want to put too much in one video. But interesting. So far, wide receivers, a lot. It doesn't matter if it's a wide receiver. It looks like if number 1 is running the out route, the corner is going to jump it. So let me just take a look at. I'm gonna make some adjustments here and to see if this anything happens out of a 12 personnel set. I had the flood route. I'm gonna take number 1 and put him out. Right. See if the corner does the same thing. He does. He does. And then he tries to run back late, like he doesn't know what's going on. I will have to, in my own time, take a look at this and see if I back the corners off. Is that going to make a difference? If I can move them back? Because generically, when you run this type of technique, your corner should be at about 8 yards, maybe even 10. So you can let things develop. You know, you don't want to be too close to the line of scrimmage. Overall, I think we are doing pretty long in this video right now, so if I have any more things to talk about in 2x2, I'll come back to it. But that's really the information right now that we have. I think you're safe to run quarters versus stacks, okay? And I don't want to say just 2x2 stacks, because when you start playing other formations, sometimes you get a stack look on one side and a non-stack look like we just had with a bunch on the other side, or you might get a normal formation to one side, but the stack look overrides the 2 receivers by themselves, overrides the rules of quarters, palms, cover 6 to the quarter side, cover 9 to the back side. It turns into stack rules. Anytime you're on a quarters side, it turns into stack rules, and I think you're okay. But I would just definitely make sure that your safeties are pretty good, because they might be caught up in a corner route and be out leveraged. If they can make up ground, that's better. If they're not that good with the man coverage rating, they might lose some ground, okay? I'll talk to you guys later. The next series is going to be 3x1, and then we're going to bunch, and then after that we're going to empty formations, okay? So it'll be 5 parts to the series, and then we'll have some questions, a whole thing on questions and whatnot. If guys want to ask questions about certain things, I have no problem talking about it and kind of doing, answering what people want to see. All right, talk to you guys later, man. Peace.